So we're headed out to the pasture for the first time to move the cattle to another paddock because they love the green grass that they got. And I don't want them to overgraze where they've been eating. So we're going to move them down to the next section.
And I'm freezing, so I have a hood and a hat on.
All right, so we're moving them down. Right there was our last little electric line, and we've got them trained to a single strand right now, which is absolutely awesome. So what I'm going to do now is I'm moving a single strand down further into the pasture so I can get it put on. So fresh green grass is over there, and because this stuff right here, we're still working on this, taming it down. But the cows are cleaning up these trees. They're doing really, really well on it. But they love that green grass that's over there that I planted last year, coastal grass, and they absolutely love it. And they've cleaned it out over there, so we're gonna give them a new little paddock so we can give that paddock a chance to grow back. So we're gonna move that wire up there. I'm gonna show you how I do that here in a minute. So here we have 4 strands. This one's hot, and so is this one. And what I do is I piggyback right off of it with these single strands to give myself little paddocks, and it works out extremely well. This doesn't have to be the exact science. I just try to do my best to keep it semi-straight going across. So putting all these posts in the ground, just, I don't know, like 20, 30 feet between them, and Lisa's gonna follow me in a golf cart and give me a stick so I can put these down nice and easy.
Here's another one.
So now I've got the posts across the pasture, right? Now what I'm gonna do is, and this is the first time I've done this, so I don't have the line measured out. We have some line here. I'm gonna tie it off on one of the lines that are not hot. Then I'm gonna stretch it across, and then after I've got the right distance or right measurement of line, then I'm gonna put it to a hot line, which will make that single line hot, and it'll open up this paddock for the cows. And then what you're gonna see is I'm going to move that line that I've got up there right there for that first paddock. I'm gonna move that so I actually close it off so the cows will not have access to it. So that grass will grow back, and then we can move them back to that in a couple of weeks when it grows back up. So we don't wanna overgraze any of this grass because it's still coming in, it's still early in the year. And if we really play our cards right and do this right, we should have a good green pasture all summer long for these cows to graze on. So this right here is the electric line. I'm just gonna tie it right here on the end like this. And there's not an exact science to this. And they say if you don't know how to tie a knot, tie a lot. I know how to tie some knots, I'm pretty decent at it, but in here I just did like a traditional granny knot. And then this, it's got this little wing nut here. I'll just loosen it, wrap that around, then I'll just tighten it up. So really what that's doing serves a couple purposes. One, more surface area of the line right to this, so it's gonna get better conductivity, and it's also just gonna be more stable to hold it on there. All right, so let's try walking it across. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make, for this end, I'm gonna have this connector to go right onto the fence. Pull on there, then I'm gonna use this buckle right here to tighten it up. And then I've got a spring that just fell down. Then we're running there too, because over time, the wire gets a little loose and it hangs low, and a spring will keep the tension on it. So this is simple. I'm just gonna kind of put this together, a little bit of a hodgepodge. Do that. And just like before, it's got that little wing nut here. I'm just gonna do that just for a little extra, not completely necessary, but this will help it out a little. Make sure it holds it good and tight. And then I'm gonna run this into the spring, but you know what? I don't even need to do that on this one because see this right here? There's a spring inside this handle. So that'll keep it, and there's a spring on the other handle. So there'll be enough tension on the line that I don't need to do that. So what I am gonna do though is I'm gonna put this into this buckle here. I'm gonna tie this off also. And this is nothing that I would ever do for a permanent fence. This is only temporary because I'm moving these cows up and down these paddocks. This is nothing that I would use for an extended period of time. This is only for a couple days. So I'll put it right here on a line that's not live. At least if you could hand me the other end right there. Bring it right under. Now is tie it on the buckle. And now that I've done this once, I'll always have this when I move these cows up and down these paddocks. So then make it nice and tight like this. Now if this was this high tensile wire like how I have on the rest of my pastures, I'd need that wrench to get it really, really, really tight. But because this is just this wire like this, I don't need to do that. Now, the wire isn't hot, but it's stretched tight across both sides. And I'm gonna move this down to the hot wire. And now this line is hot all the way across.
So there are our cows just chilling over there. They've really enjoyed it, but it is definitely mowed down, and so the reason we're moving them is because look at the difference there. All this beautiful fresh green grass that they will have to eat. So that's where they were, and this is where they're going to be going.
So to make sure that the fence works, I have this voltage tester here for the fence. So when you use these, you gotta make sure you stick this part in the ground, and here, our soil is basically sand. So I try to find the thickest spot that I can, and kind of really push it in there, and then I put it on the fence, and I'll hold my hand up so I can see it, and we're lighting up good. We're getting about 6,000 volts right here, maybe 7,000, which is enough to hold cattle back. So this will do really well. So if you look back over here again, to the left of this wire is where they were yesterday and for the last 2 days. And they've really eaten the top of the grass off really well. And then over here to the right, this is what they're gonna be on now. And it's all new, and we'll let them eat this for a couple of days, and then we'll move them down to the last paddock here in this pasture. And if you look way off in the distance here, where it looks all sandy, I just replanted all of that. So hopefully in the next month or so, that'll be really nice, thick grass that they can graze on also. But we'll make sure we keep them off of that. Now, right next to this entire pasture on the other side, and if you can see in a distance there, it's kind of funky with how it'll focus on my finger, but over there, that's a whole nother big pasture that I can run more paddocks in, and half of it has been planted with coastal. So I'm waiting for that to come up a little bit more before I put them on there. So not only are they eating all this green grass, but they're also eating hay right there, and I use round bales. So we're making sure we keep these animals fed really well over here. So last year at the end of the season, I started planting this pasture right here. And I do not own my own no-till drill yet. but that is something that I really plan on investing in the future because I really like the no-till style. But what I did in the interim is I took my disc and I put the gangs where they were almost perfectly straight, so they didn't cut deep into this ground at all. Basically just moved it over a little bit in certain in the lines with the disc. And then I broadcast spread all the seed, and then I went back over it with the disc again in the same direction, and then I rolled it. And by doing that, it's kind of hard to see on the camera here, but I was able to plant this pasture last year, kind of doing a no-till style, but still using a disc. I didn't completely cut it all up like how I had to do in another part of my pasture to start it. But now that I've done this, I plan on buying a no-till drill in the very near future. And when I use that, I'm just going to be able to plant right over this, so I don't have to continue to till anything up. And I don't like tilling it, but I had to do it to start it because the pastures were a little rough. But moving forward, I'm hoping to do no-till and just keep adding more and more and more to the pastures. Come on, Dexter.
They're following us. Oh man, they're following us fast. We're leading them to their new pasture where the grass is greener.
All right, so let's just fast forward one day. Now these cows out here, they must be loving this grass. We got Faith right here eating away at the grass, absolutely loving it. She's so happy she's starting to like me now. Amazing. I really think the key to this is keeping these cows rotating around this pasture, keeping on fresh grass every day, because they seem to be so happy. I mean, look, how could you not love a face like that? I mean, this is just amazing, right? So these other girls want to get the action too, so it's pretty cool. But thanks again for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and just letting you know, I am having the time of my life here with these cows.